I come to the garden alone while the dew is still on the roses. And the voice I hear falling on my ears, the Son of God discloses. And he walks with me and he talks with me and he tells me I am his own. And the joy we share as we tarry there, none other has ever known. Hey everybody, Lady Cheryl here, and I just want to welcome you to my YouTube channel. This video will be a continuation of my last video where I started winterizing my banana plants, and I just thought I'd bring you a little footage to give you an overview of what I actually did to these banana plants, besides digging up 6 of them and storing them in the greenhouse. I took my reciprocating saw and I started at the top and I started cutting the stems and pseudo stems of the banana plants down to a couple of feet high so that I could pile on all of the debris and winterize them. But before I show you what else I'm going to do with the banana plants, let me share with you what I did outside to get my garden ready for cold temperatures. And I'm also going to share with you everything that I moved into the greenhouse to protect them. Okay, guys, we're going to get a hard freeze tonight. 31 degrees or lower. So whenever I'm going to get a hard freeze, the first thing that I do is I water thoroughly my plants. Now, if you're a new gardener, you might not understand that watering your plants will insulate them. Okay? So anytime it's going to be below freezing, thoroughly water your plants. Now, if I wanted to, I could cover these plants to protect them from a frost. But it's not going to be cold that long, and all of these crops can handle a temperature around 30 degrees or even lower. Okay, so I'm not going to cover nothing. That's why I'm spraying them with water to insulate them. And I've already preserved by pressure canning a lot of greens. Now, I've already did these, but for the sake of the video, I'm going back and I'm hitting them again to make sure that I thoroughly watered everything. Okay? Even my strawberries over there. Where'd they go? Right there. As long as it's not going to get down in the 20s, everything should survive. Except some of the flowers, the zinnias, marigolds, which you can barely see peeping right through there, the little spot of orange. They will die off at 32 degrees. But all of my cold weather crops should be fine. And I just recently harvested a lot of greens and gave them away, so they should be fine. Now let me take you to the greenhouse and show you what I brought inside. I decided to do a voiceover on this portion because I didn't realize that the water hose was making that much noise over my voice. So I just want you to know, right in front of the greenhouse, or right on the side of the greenhouse, I have this Gorilla cart that I'm not using. I decided to water it well too. And then I'm going to move on and water the asparagus. I could cut it back, but right now it'll just insulate the asparagus, but eventually I'll pile it with leaves. Right in here, I have some newly started comfrey, so I wanted to water that good, as well as water the Mexican petunias. Even though they will survive a temperature and come back, I just thought I'll insulate the roots a little bit by drowning it with a little water. Now I'm going into the greenhouse and I'm showing you that I'm watering all of the banana plants that I brought in right there. I moved also some lemongrass. I have 2 5-gallon buckets of that. I use a lot of that in my seasonings as well as in my tea. So I want to preserve that and don't have to start all over. Right here, I'm watering some brown turkey fig tree cuttings, and I'm also filling up my water so that when I do have to water something in the greenhouse, it'll have some room temperature water. Now, moving on, and right around in here, you'll see I'll pick up and start watering some of the comfrey. I picked up 3 rectangle containers of comfrey that I started, and it can handle a cold temperature, but I'm going to be sending that to my subscribers, so I decided to go ahead and move it in because I didn't want it to die back. And I'm continuing to water my brown turkey fig tree cuttings and the ones that I air layered. So right here, I decided to just go ahead on and fill up every watering can or jug that I have in the greenhouse, and I sped up the video so you wouldn't be bored watching me do that. And then after I filled up the containers, I move on and start watering my tomato plants. My tomato plants are doing very well. With the fluctuation of the temperatures, I'm trying to keep it as stable as I possibly can. And but they're growing really well. They're loaded with a lot of blooms. And in this garden bed where I have the tomato plants, I'm also growing carrots and Detroit red beets, golden beets, basil, a lot of society garlic to deter insects. And one thing about the temperature dropping real low tonight is the fact that a lot of the non-beneficial insects, like that darn cabbage moth, will decrease in population. So the tomato plants are doing really well, and I'm going down this walkway, and I'm continuing to water everything in that area. And I have wood chips on the other side, the right side of the bed right here. So I am spraying water on the cherry trees that are dormant in the greenhouse, as well as a lot of other small plants that I brought inside. As you can see right here, I'm just, watering all of the baskets, as well as continuing to water the tomato plants all the way down this long garden bed. Those tomatoes are blooming. They have a lot of flowers on them. And now I'm moving on to the other side of the greenhouse, and I'm watering this this garden bed that has some comfrey that I brought in from the outside. I also brought in that lemongrass. I use a lot of lemongrass in my teas, so I didn't want them to die back like I normally let them, because they will come back in my area in the spring again. So I have a lot of lettuce and beans growing in the hanging baskets that are directly over the garden bed that has a lot of peppers, sweet peppers, growing in this area. So again, you're looking at beans and lettuce. Those are dragon tongue beans, and they're ready to be harvested. I was waiting on Brian and Bria to come help me because, they get a kick out of it. And I'm watering a lot of cuttings right in here. There's some parsley with, I think I put a couple of cuttings of Russian blocking 14 comfrey there that I can transplant any place in the food forest in the spring. And there are also some pansies and some sweet william, and now I'm filling up the watering cans and a couple of jugs just to have some room temperature, or greenhouse temperature, I should say, water in here, and I won't have to be bringing in the watering hose. I usually use rainwater as much as possible, but right now I wanted to hurry up and get this done because the temperature is dropping, and I need to get inside because, like I said, the temperature is dropping very, very fast. But you can see that, look at that, guys. Look right there. That is a morning glory. Somehow a seed was inside of my compost and it bloomed. So that was really nice to see. I'm glad I didn't pull it up. And here I have some lettuce, and I have some vines. What are those? Muscadine vines that are dormant, that I'm going to be transplanting in the ground in the spring. And there's a lot of celery in those containers. And then all of my citrus trees at that back wall, along with the saffron bulbs that I planted. Okay, guys, I'm going to temporarily winterize this bed. And the reason why I say temporarily or temporary is because it's going to be 80 degrees again in a few days. 31 degrees tonight, and then 81 in a few days. So what I'm going to do is, as you can see here, I piled up all of the stems, the pseudo stems and the stems on top of the plants. And then I'm going to put, let me see, where did I put it? Some burlap. Change your plants, no plastic, because it's going to be real hot in a few days. So I got this burlap, and I'm just going to spread it over a portion where the pups are. So I got to spread it over where the pups are, because I just need to raise the temperature a few degrees, because these are cold hardy bananas plants. And then I'm going to take this frost cloth that I pulled out the shed, and I'm gonna put it over it. Okay, so I have the frost cloth on top of the burlap, and then I will put a couple of sheets. And when I do the final winterization, when it's going to be consistently cold, then I'll come back and show you what I do. I know it doesn't make sense for me to put a lot of protection on because it's only going to be cold for a few hours. But I promise you I will go back and visit this in another video. So there we go. I've got some fencing, wrought iron fencing. It's kind of heavy in case the winds get real high, and it'll keep that cover on them, and I think it'll be fine. And the last thing I need to bring in, I need to empty my water feature. And this year, instead of bringing it into the house, I'm just going to store it in the greenhouse. I decided that the begonias are a nice pop of color, so I took these baskets down that were hanging outside and brought it in, though that one too, so we can enjoy some color for a little bit longer. Okay. And you can see I brought the water feature inside as well. Okay, guys, that's it for this video. Your own, eat your own. It's not hard, you can do it. Yeah, yeah. Thank you for watching. See you real soon.